Wake's had a good year. They're 6-3. And really, of their 3 losses, Florida State got them good. They did not play well. Florida State did play well. It was a one-sided game. Other than that, even their other 2 losses, I mean, they led State 14-0 and 24-14 and lost. They led Georgia Tech 20-3 and lost in overtime, just like they went for 2 like Carolina did against Virginia after both teams had scored, and they just didn't get it. They have beaten SMU. They beat Virginia. Last week they beat Virginia, knocked the quarterback out early in the game, which helped their cause. And so this is a solid team. They have been successful in the similar way that the Tar Heels have been successful. They are good defensively. They can when they can run the football, it really makes them a lot better on offense. They have not been very consistent on offense because when they can't run the ball, they've had trouble. Now, they've run it more effectively, more consistently than Carolina, which I do think is part of the reason why they're 6-3 and the Tar Heels are 4-5. And they still have Damon Claiborne, who was there last year, all-ACC running back, really good player. Their quarterbacks, Robbie Ashford and Deshaun Purdy. You may remember Purdy. Carolina saw him in the Charlotte game last year. He played a large majority of the game after the starter for Charlotte was knocked out. Ashford has been at multiple places, Oregon, Auburn, South Carolina. So many people have seen the talent. The consistency hasn't been there. Both these guys have played, especially recently. I think a lot of that is Ashford has not been 100% over the last several weeks. But you'll see 2 or 3 good plays by each one of these guys and then a not very good play. So, again, in total, I think they are similar to Carolina in the way they've been successful. I think other teams try to make the quarterback beat them. And so, Adam, to me, it comes down to 2 things. Assuming that these teams play close to how they have been playing. Can one of these 2 teams run the ball effectively? If it can, I think it will give that particular team a good chance to win. If neither team can run the ball effectively, which team sees its quarterback step up and make a couple of big throws, like Gio Lopez did in the second half against Stanford, for example, which we'll talk to him about. To me, that's where it comes down to. I think Carolina's defense is a little bit better than Wake's defense. I think Wake's offense is a little bit better than Carolina's offense in total this year. How all that plays out is what we'll be watching at Confused on the Name Stadium in Winston-Salem.
This definitely appears to be the team that the Tar Heels have played in this stretch of better Tar Heel play that has the most consistent resume. Like, throw out the Florida State game, because it seems like Florida State was unaccountably good in that game considering what they've done elsewhere, and Wake was unaccountably bad. But if you take that out, they got a pretty strong list of credentials. I mean, Jones mentioned of the ACC teams that have one loss, Wake has handed 2 of them that one loss, SMU and Virginia. Nobody else has been able to beat them other than the Deacs.
And they darn near beat Georgia Tech.
Jake Dicker's been talking this week about what a big rivalry game this is and how important it is to Wake. Haven't heard as much about that from Bill Belichick, but it'll be important to them. This, again, looks like one of those 12-9 games because Wake hasn't been able to score very much. Carolina hasn't been able to score very much. Wake has gotten a lot of their points lately either straight off of turnovers or they force a turnover and then they go on a short field and score. So you got to hold on to the ball. Would they get 3 fumbles against Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the only touchdown in the Virginia game was a punt return. Wake has a punt return and a kickoff return for a score this season.
So special teams, something to keep an eye on. The last couple weeks, I think you've probably gotten the impression, as we've talked about it, that feels like the Tar Heels have a good chance to win this game. This game feels much more like a toss-up.
Yeah.
And I think if Carolina wants to make this push to get towards bowl eligibility, this feels like one that you need to prove you're playing to that level. I think Carolina's proven they're better than the bottom quarter of the ACC. I think everyone sort of accepts that now. This is the one where you try to move into the middle of the ACC, and by doing so, you would need to win on the road.
Red zone's going to be important in this game. Both teams have had trouble at times scoring in the red zone and scoring touchdowns in the red zone. I mean, Wake is last in the league and 131st in the nation in red zone efficiency. 19 scores on 29 possessions. And of those 19 scores, only 10 of them are touchdowns. So you're looking at a third of the time that they get in the red zone, they score a touchdown. That's a very low percentage. Carolina, 26 possessions, 20 scores, 13 touchdowns, and 7 field goals. So about half the time they're there in total, they scored touchdowns. Still not great, but better than Wake has been in that regard. Between the two teams, they have 8 red zone turnovers, 5 for Carolina, 3 for Wake Forest. That's a lot. So both teams have struggled when that field gets condensed, and I think both these teams have defenses capable of making the other team struggle when you get onto that condensed field as well. Carolina's, we've mentioned this a few times, been pretty effective in red zone defense this year. The opposition has 21 scores in 29 possessions. Only 11 of them are touchdowns. That's pretty good. So that could be an area of, if there is a turnover like Carolina got against Stanford but had to settle for a field goal, like, is that going to fly this week? I think you got to take advantage of those chances. The team that does has a good chance to win. Could be a defense field position kind of deal again. So return game. I know that's an area Bill Belichick has not been happy with this year on special teams. I think he's been pleased with Carolina's coverage, particularly kick coverage, but has not been pleased with the return game. I mean, Tar Heels just haven't really had any explosive kind of field flipping type of return. So maybe this week, don't know. I do think Carolina's been close to blocking some punts. Hadn't gotten there yet. Wake had one blocked last week against Virginia. So all these things could come into play in what it seems like will be a low-scoring, low-possession type of game. You've got to take advantage if an opportunity arises for a quote-unquote easier opportunity to score. Defensively, just a couple names to be aware of. Langston Hardy, I think, is a pretty good player at DN. He's got 4.5 sacks this year. Their top tackler has been there a while. Nick Anderson, a safety. He's got 76 tackles. That's third in the league. Dylan Hazen, Quincy Bryant, Devon Patterson. Those are either linebackers or nickelbacks, kind of middle of the field kind of guys who have made some impactful plays for Wake this year. I do think, similar to Stanford, if you can get into the secondary, you might have a chance for some big plays. But as you saw, Carolina had trouble getting into the secondary, at least in the first half, against Stanford. But if you can get there, I think you at least have the chance to have some big plays. So we'll see. 4:30. Wake has lived on the C-dub this year. I do know that.
The dub is for Wake Forest.
Yeah. And we're back on the dub again this week with the Tar Heels. So 4:30, we're on the air radio-wise. 3:30 from Winston-Salem. Adam, anything else on the Deeks, on basketball, anything before we go to our interview and then the back half of the show?
No, just a reminder that next home football game got the 6-day hold. So Tar Heels and Duke will find out the game time on Sunday at some point.
Yeah, could be as early as Saturday night, Sunday morning, sometime in that area. The Tar Heels will know.